Not every rock star is in it for fame and fortune. In fact, when it comes to engine builders, they often aren't seeking the limelight. Instead, they keep their heads down and their noses to the grindstone in an effort to machine and build excellence under the hood of performance vehicles. However, that doesn't mean there aren't some true rock stars in the engine building world. Luke Wilson of Piston Racing is a vehicle care rock star through and through. For more than 20 years, Luke has helped run Piston Racing in Danville, Indiana with his business partner Josh Klein, where they build performance Honda engines and cylinder heads that make it into cars around the world.
Hey.
Hey Luke.
How you doing?
Doing good.
Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you again.
Great.
It's funny, I was thinking on my way down, we've had plenty of phone calls over the years and articles written, and definitely excited to get to know more about what makes you a rock star in this industry.
Yeah, absolutely. Tons going on at all times. It's great to have you here.
Like I said, first time being here, it'd be awesome to get a little tour first and foremost. And
yeah, absolutely.
And
all right, here we are, Piston Racing.
what started in a small garage more than 20 years ago has since turned into a 12,000 square foot engine and machine shop that employs 13 people. Luke saw a future in using CNC equipment to make a better cylinder head, and Piston Racing hasn't looked back since. In fact, the shop has significantly upped the ante for Honda engines these days.
We started in 1999, obviously not here, in a garage literally in our hometown.
Yeah.
Building engines in the garage at home. We do over 1,000 cylinder heads a year. Engine-wise, I think we did just under 300 engines last year.
Okay.
Which is mind-blowing to me.
Yeah.
I remember a year when we did 4. I remember the first year we did cylinder heads, and we were so proud we did 10.
Right. To understand what building a company like Piston Racing truly means to Luke, you have to understand where and how Luke grew up, and the importance racing and car culture had on him since a young age. So let's go to the beginning. What first got you interested in racing and engine building?
Racing is something that is a way of life in Indianapolis, and I grew up in that. And my family wasn't involved in racing. We didn't have race cars. We didn't go do stuff like that. Like we could never have afforded that. But my dad and my uncle, every Thursday night, we were at Indianapolis Raceway Park, Thursday Night Thunder, watching midgets and sprints. Indianapolis 500, I've missed one in 37 years.
Oh, wow.
When my daughter was born.
Okay.
And I've sat in
a good reason.
Yeah, I've sat in the same seats every year.
Yeah.
And won't miss it. It is a tradition. Really what got me into like actual automotive racing was engines and a love for engines. I've not ever really been that interested in the cars.
So you mentioned your friend, obviously you're talking about Josh Klein, who's your business partner today.
Absolutely.
Tell us how you guys met. You guys met in high school, right?
Yeah, we ran around in different circles.
Tell us how you guys first met. What was that like?
There was a show called the Nopi Nationals, and this is back in 98, 99, when we were still in high school. I had another friend who asked me to go. He asked me, hey, you want to go down here? Well, he had another friend to go, so we only had 3. So we knew we needed another person.
Not the same crowd, but we were going to an event in Atlanta, and we'd never talked before.
Okay.
Me and Luke at that time really had not spent any time together other than being in the same grade. And I was like, hey, you want to go to this? It's in Atlanta. Not sure if your parents are going to be okay with that, whatever. We're still in high school. Yeah. He's like, hell yeah, I want to go.
He had to ride with me, and we got stuck in the same car together because all the other seats were full.
Yeah.
We had 9.5 hours. Right. And at that age, we're very young.
Yeah.
Okay, he was 15, I was probably 16.
Right.
We took that trip the first time really that we had ever sat down and have a conversation, and it was a 9-hour trip, just me and him.
Yeah.
Obviously we got to know each other pretty well, spending 9 hours going to this car show. So,
we had 9.5 hours to talk about cars.
That's kind of where it all started.
I found a friend that we shared a common interest and we motivate each other, and we are obsessed with engines.
Yeah.
Me and him are brothers, we we have been together for so long, and we really feed off each other. If he succeeds, I succeed, and I see it that way thoroughly. And everybody in here in the shop, when they succeed, I succeed, and that's how I like to live life.
For our business, it's Honda.
Honda engines represent the pinnacle of performance in motorsports. And the Honda engines and cylinder heads that 4-piston builds are also considered the cream of the crop by the shop's customers across many different performance applications.
All right, so this is our engine assembly room.
All right, so here's where everything gets put together, huh?
Yeah, got 4 guys in here typically, which has always been a big topic of discussion, whether we have separate kind of cells where everybody's alone versus having people working together where they can bounce ideas off of each other and socialize and, and honestly enjoy the day at work.
Luke, you mentioned you got into all this because racing's expensive and you wanted to go racing. But I wanted to ask, why you guys chose Honda. What was it about the 4-cylinder stuff that drew you to it?
Great question. You kind of start with the first car that you're allowed to get, right? Hondas were a popular thing. It was kind of coming up in magazines. It was a big West Coast push for Honda racing in the late 90s. It wasn't in the middle of the country. This is going on the West Coast. This is going on in Japan. This is going on the East Coast. It is what we had. So we gravitated to that, but we quickly learned that Honda is a motorsports company, period. I mean, look right now. Top of Formula One, top of IndyCar. They are in the top echelon of performance.
So lots of different racing.
In the engines, if you've ever been inside one, you see the stuff from their racing that transfers over into a street car. And when I say street car, a Honda CR-V, a Civic, an Accord, there's a lot of racing technology that's been put into the everyday average thing that you'd be driving to work. You start looking at it and man, this is a racing engine. What did they do here?
The new Civic from Honda. More powerful, more refined, more responsive.
So that made it easy. And there's also a market. There's a huge following, there's a huge global market. There's a wide variety of use, from the everyday street car to a guy that's going to go out and run laps at his local road course to just hobbyists.
So Luke, you just touched on a little bit about what some of your customers might do with an engine you guys build or with a Honda engine in general, but you want to elaborate on the A to Z on where your engines might end up and how they get used?
Worldwide, number one, we ship a lot of overseas engines. It'll end up in a boat, a jet ski, an airplane, a lot of street cars, track day cars, Saturday, Sunday cars. Open wheel, from Indy Lights to Japanese Super Formula to Leger hill climb cars in Europe. So a lot of European hill climb stuff. There's just such a big global Honda market. It's fantastic for us.
So Luke, you got a couple guys here, building complete engines. I wanted to know, when you're in here and you're working on an engine, what gets you excited about putting this together? What's your favorite aspect of assembling a Honda?
I wish I was involved in that more than I am today, but I'm not. But cylinder head development has always been my interest. Building engines came out of necessity. When we first started, we only wanted to do cylinder heads. That's our desire. That's our primary focus. That's our interest. We're fascinated with it. Do Josh and I get to build some engines sometimes? Absolutely. 2 nights before a race, we have to go race. We're in here with a beer, putting an engine together. That's fun. We love it. Still late at night, still calling home. Hey, we're not going to be home. Sorry. Still doing it to our families. Sometimes we do it. Sometimes we do it. It's the competitive spirit that puts us all into motorsports. Motorsports scratches an itch that nothing else can reach. There's a whole separate life. You've got to have that work-life balance, or you're not productive at work and the time you're there. It's one of those things we really, really value. The work day, you will not see us here after that, before that, on the weekends, unless there's a race or something and we're behind. Sometimes stuff happens. We got to do it, but it's very rare, and we want that for our people too. We want a regular job to show up to, and not always in turmoil, because that'll drive you nuts. It'll make you old real fast.
I admire that. I think that's the right mentality to have, especially in an industry like this, where most people are just working themselves to the bone, and
If you're organized, you can be extremely productive in the 8 hours that you get. So organization is key, and we're still working on figuring some of that stuff out. We are always trying to figure out little things that can improve our process. There's a lot to be gained still, and that's a good challenge.
In an ongoing effort to maintain four-piston racing's high standards and great reputation, Luke ensures his shop is utilizing quality machinery to push the needle forward in their engine development for customers. Luke, give us a quick rundown of all the different machines and the capabilities of the shop, here, because you guys do everything here in-house. What's helping you do that?
We do use a Centroid 5-axis CNC to machine. We do most of the machining on that. It's a powerful machine. It has some basic functionality, built into the programming that allows someone like me who's not a CNC programmer to actually do some functions. Porting cylinder heads is a big part of our business, and so is speed and efficiency. With over 1,000 cylinder heads a year, we can't mess around with tinkering on a head for a week. In addition to that, you have finish work on cylinder heads, so we learned on all kinds of machines. We grew up on a Sun and VGS and evolved to SERDI equipment to try to be faster. We used to call it driving the bus, running the SERDI. Drove the bus many a times, and there's a lot of things you can do really fast on that. We've since gone to a single point, new and CNC valve job process for, number one, repeatability. When you're putting out 1,000 cylinder heads or more, they've all got to be the same. Something unique about the business that we're in, a lot of the engines we're building are out of production. So we have to take an engine that's maybe come out of a junkyard or out of a wrecked car, or the customers are sending them in, or we have to go source them. I mean, some of them look like they've been on the bottom of the ocean for 15 years. And we've got to turn them into a gem. So a big part of that is our cleaning process and how we get the thing to look like new or better than new. A lot of everything here is very cylinder head focused. Everything comes in, we have a disassembly area, and we have a team of guys back here, and their job is to get everything disassembled, cataloged, cleaned, and organized so that when we come back to it 12 weeks later when we're building an engine, all that stuff is easily accessible to the engine builders, and they can get to it, sort through the stuff, inspect, and do a final clean. And then we do have some new Mazak stuff showing up, which we're kind of in Mazak country. We're close to them, so it made sense for us from a serviceability standpoint. We've got some Swiss lathe machinery coming to get into new parts, and another 5-axis that we hope to speed things up with a little bit. I'm excited for our Mazak stuff. We should be getting it here in the month.
It's always great getting new machinery.
And I'm excited about the Swiss lathe process. It's going to shoot us into new product territory. And that's where we're headed. This may sound funny, but we're probably one of the only engine building companies that doesn't want to build engines.
While Luke might not be as hands-on with building engines as he once was, he still gets plenty of opportunity to destroy the engines on the dyno in an effort to find the weak spots and ways to make engines better. Luke, so we're kind of in the back of the shop here, and like we were talking about in the assembly room, there's a lot of things that you really like about putting an engine together. The most fun you're going to have is, throwing it on a dyno and getting to see it fire up and run, right?
Yeah, this is me. So I get to destroy what the guys put together, which is fun. I do love designing the engine, mapping out how it's going to go. They get it perfectly together the way that we do things, and then I get to find the weak spots. So I spend a lot of time on the dyno. We have a chassis dyno and an engine dyno, so we do it in the car, mostly for our race car. Especially like the new Civic Type R platform, we do a lot of chassis dyno stuff with that. There's a lot of other systems in a car that the customer is going to come face to face with, so we want to make sure all that stuff's working as well. A lot of times you get wrapped up in filling orders, taking orders, filling orders, building stuff. You have to be constantly developing in order to stay on the cutting edge. We do some dynoing for customers where we will have a complete package for a road race car, but it has to be complete. Our market's kind of unique. Like, I think back to old engine shops I used to work in, you dynoed every engine before it left. But it was pretty easy to do that. Like, it's got a carburetor on it, we throw it up there, we hook up a couple lines, and boom, we're going. Well, it's different now. It's not just to take it off the dyno and drop it in the car a lot of times. And our customer base they're very technologically savvy. They have their own ECUs, they do their own tuning, or they have a guy that does that. So what we're doing in here is development. I love the engine dyno. I can stand up here and change a cylinder head.
Yep.
I've got my coffee. If it's late at night, I've got my beer with me.
Yep.
You know, I can change cams. It's stand up work height. It's clean. I love the engine dyno. I thrash on them. And like here, this is a USAC midget engine. Essentially, this ran Chili Bowl. You know, it's getting ready to go on the dyno so that we can try some new electronics. So we're trying to make these better and kind of break the mold a little bit from what's going on right now. And I want to push the limits.
So, Luke, you know, a lot of rock stars out there in the world, you know, don't just do one thing. They kind of diversify or have side projects or, you know, other passions in life outside of music. And in your case, you've diversified this business with something pretty unique.
Right.
And I understand it's kind of a cremation company.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's interesting. I wrote the business plan for 4-piston when I was in college. Although it wasn't called 4-piston, that business plan says street artillery on it.
Okay.
So I had a good idea of what we wanted to do, but I was working in pharmaceutical and biocontainment, and I lost my job, and I had to figure out what I was going to do. I lost my job the week I got married.
Oh, wow.
So it was like, holy moly. You know, I kind of had to plant a seed to figure out what I was going to do for the rest of my life, and I started 4-piston with Josh, you know, and another business at the same time.
So Luke, tell us what the name of the other company is, and then, you know, what is water cremation? You know, a lot of people are going to relate to cremation as they know it, but this is something a little different.
It's called Bioresponse Solutions, and the process is called aquamation.
Okay.
It is basically a water-based cremation that dissolves your body and your proteins, breaks the peptide bond in the protein, and puts you into your basic building blocks, just like natural decomposition would do. We just do it in a few hours. And it's green. So it's 1/20th of the carbon footprint of a fire cremation.
Yeah.
And it's silent. It's just runs very quiet.
Yeah.
It's a interesting looking machine.
And we're looking at a couple of the tanks, you know, where you put a body into, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So these tilt down, body goes in, tilts up, fills with water, stirs around.
Yeah.
Pulls out a skeleton. Pretty neat.
Yeah, it is pretty neat.
Yeah.
It's also a little creepy, you know, depending on
for sure.
You know, what you think about dead bodies and things.
When the first time I had to go into a funeral home, you know, and be around all this stuff was interesting for me. I'm used to being around engines.
Yeah.
So it's different, but it's a heck of a balancing act.
Yeah.
To have my mind wrapped around something that's going on there, and then to come over and deal with this, which is why Josh is so important. He's the leader.
Yeah.
He really keeps things going, and you know, I split my time, not always 50-50. Sometimes I'm over here more, sometimes I'm over there more. It just depends on what's going on.
Sure.
So,
and then just to clarify, you know, you guys aren't doing any cremations yourselves. It's just the equipment.
Yeah, we're just making the equipment.
Okay.
Yep.
And then I also understand that it's legal in some states, not legal in others. You know, can you dive into some of the background there?
It's not that it's disapproved, it's that they're going through legislation to pass legislation for this in states. There's 26 states that are approved.
Okay.
We'll have 29 to 30 by the end of this year.
Yeah.
And we're not pushing the legislation. We're not lobbying. We're just kind of, as funeral homes and businesses become interested, they go to their state reps and talk about it and kind of go from there.
Yeah.
So, it's been good, slow growth for us.
Yeah.
But like I said, we have 65 machines in process at all times that are sold for customers. It's as fast as we can build them and get them out of here. So
that's awesome.
2 growing businesses. We've outgrown our britches here. So we're building a new, hopefully here in the next 6 months, starting on a new facility for 4-piston out front. And we have another 3 acres over here to the side.
Yeah.
So we're gonna try to keep growing. We have contracts with the U.S. Army. We have all types of different things that we do for pharmaceutical companies. It's so hilarious. I have sold cremation systems to funeral directors and then found out they were into racing. Oh, I race at autocross. I do this, or I'm an SCCA, STU, road racing.
Yeah.
And I've sold them engines.
That's great.
And then I have engine customers who have been very successful. They have successful businesses. That's why they're racing. They race heavily. They're spending a couple $100,000 a year to race. And they buy pet cremation systems to start businesses.
Oh, wow.
So as weird and as far away from each other as it is,
Yeah.
they've overlapped
Yeah.
in one way or another.
Yeah.
So it is different.
With 20 plus years under their belts, Luke and Josh are constantly thinking about where four-piston racing goes next. Every rock star has got another album coming out. You guys have been around for over 20 years now. What's kind of that, so to speak, next album for you guys here at Four Piston?
Manufacturing, so making products that make life easier for customers, make life easier for engine builders, using better materials.
We love building engines, and I'm sure he mentioned too that it's kind of a necessity for us to make our other products look really good. But manufacturing is definitely the direction we want to go in. Some of the products that we purchase right now, we just purchase too many of them, and there's no reason for us not to just make the stuff ourselves.
There's a lot of companies in the industry that are facing some challenges or being acquired, and things are evolving, and it's harder for engine builders to get parts, and the costs are skyrocketing. And it doesn't have to be that way. So you can see us in the future going into much more product development and manufacturing, and it's not always just let's jump into making connecting rods. Our tactic may be to invest in someone that is an expert already for the last 35 years.
I would like to focus more on just engine development instead of the day-to-day of processing engines that need built. I would like someone on the dyno every day. That's ideally where we need to be. Someone on the flow bench every day with a new project, just development. That's where we want to go, development and manufacturing.
So that's our future, is manufacturing for sure, and just constantly expanding and trying to, one piece at a time, man. You can't do it all at once. And we are all about slow growth and steady growth and maintaining a really good reputation.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And again, Luke, I don't think anyone becomes a rock star and expects they're going to end up in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame or anything like that. But, to close out, I wanted to ask, again, over the last 20 plus years and looking into the future for yourself, what's kind of that legacy that you hope to leave behind and you hope that, Four Piston kind of leaves behind?
I'm going to do this till I die. Retirement is not, sometimes I look forward to it, but I'll be at work every day.
Yeah.
I know.
Well, your job is your passion and your hobbies, and so
everything that we've gotten up to this point is really just truly a gift. And, we do try to be leaders in the industry, but that's more just because we're just so interested in it. We want to do the next thing, and then the next thing, the next thing. It's never with the intent of being the biggest person out there. It's just doing better. We hate losing, so that's kind of what drives us.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll probably work to an old age, and I hope to be at the racetrack like one of my heroes at 88 years old, AJ Foyt. This weekend I saw what looked like a tear in his eye and a big smile on his face, and I hope that at that age I'm there listening to race cars run around the track with my engines in them,
There you go.
And that'd be icing on the cake if we can make it happen.
Yeah. Well, Luke, we appreciate the time.
Yep.
We appreciate you showing us around the shop and telling us more about the business and yourself. And we had a blast getting to know more about you.
All right. Sounds good.
Thank you.
Yep.
Vehicle Care RockStars is powered by Babcox Media in partnership with Apex.